You how to take a regular round chocolate cake and turn it into a very easy football cake. The chocolate cake that you're seeing here is a cake that I did in a previous video. If you wish to see how I made this chocolate cake, there is a link down below this video in the description box. So this is a really simple process. What you want to do is figure out where the middle of your cake is, make a little bit of a line, and then you want to go over on each side and you want to make sure that's equal on both sides. And then I'm just going to simply take my knife, I'm going to cut down in the middle, and another slice here. And then we're going to remove the middle piece, like that. And now we've got these two sections and we're going to simply push them together. And look what we have. A perfect football shape. Before I continue, I'm just going to bring over the middle section of the cake that we cut, because in the previous video I did promise that I would come back and show how nice this cake is inside, even though we had a little bit of depression in the middle. So I'm just going to zoom in so that we can look at this cake really close up. So I've just zoomed in to show you how nice this cake is inside. I'll just give it a little squish and you can see how moist this cake is, and very dark. A really nice cake. I'll just slice into it a little bit here. And look at that. Amazing. Of course I'm going to have to try a little piece. Oh wow. Well, that's really good. And that cake flour that we used in this recipe makes a very tender cake. So I really hope that you try this recipe out. You're going to be very impressed. So I'm really going to try to keep today's video really simple. This is more of an assembly video than an actual recipe video. You can see that we've got that really nice football shape. The next thing I'm going to do, and this is optional, I'm going to slice this down here so that we can put in some buttercream frosting in the middle. So I'll do that next. And I am using a serrated knife, which has little teeth here, and that's a good knife to use when you're cutting cake because it doesn't actually depress the cake. So we've got that side, and then we'll do the next side. Perfect. So now we're going to frost this up. So I've just whipped up some nice vanilla buttercream. If you want a recipe for this, it'll be down below the video in the description box as well. So we've got our two pieces. I've loaded my piping bag and we're ready to go. And I'm just going to quickly go around. I'm just going to grab my little spatula. Just even it out a little bit. That's good. And then we're going to grab our top pieces and just try to match those up really well with the bottom pieces. And our other side. And that looks good. I'm just going to get this nice. Okay, that looks good. Let's just spin it around, clean up your edges, and then we are ready to frost the top. That looks good. Nice football. Okay, on to our next step. So I have some chocolate buttercream icing here ready to go, and I'm just going to start frosting my cake. And if you want a recipe to that, I'll put a link to it below this video as well in the description box. So you basically just want to go around your whole cake. You don't have to do a perfect job, but you do want to have the tips nice and sharp and the top looking pretty smooth. And you want to make sure that it comes to sort of a dome. I think that looks pretty good. So there we have it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go around, I'll clean that up, and then we're going to get on to our next step. I've taken some more of our vanilla buttercream and I've put it into a piping bag, and I'm using an Attico 895 tip. And we're just going to make 2 very simple lines going from side to side. Okay. Perfect. And then another piping bag with an Attico number 7, and we're just going to make the little strings. So just on one side, very, very simple, just make yourself a string. Like that. And there we have it. And there's our little football cake. Really, really fun one today. Very fast. One thing left to do, which is totally optional. I'm going to put a little bit of grass, green grass, all the way around the side. And this is finally our last step. I have taken the same vanilla buttercream, added a little bit of Wilton green food coloring. I also have a Wilton 233 tip on the end. That's for our grass. So I've just loaded up my piping bag. I'll turn the camera so we can see. And then I'm just going to start doing my little bit of grass all the way around. So you just want to push so it sticks to the cake and then pull away. So I've just zoomed in a little bit just to show you this a little closer up. So I'll start over here. Let me just turn that a little bit more. So you just get it in there and give it a little squeeze. So what this tip is, it's just tiny holes all the way around. Sorry, where am I? So what this tip is at the end it's flat and they're just a whole pile of little holes that are creating the grass. So you just want to get in there, give a little squeeze and pull away. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue going all the way around and then I'll come back. So I'm just finishing up here. And what you can do is you can just keep going around and you can just build up a little bit more to make it a little bit thicker, but I think it looks pretty good like that. It's good enough to give you the general idea. So let me just zoom out for the last time and then we'll finish off our video. So here we are at the end of another video. My really cute football cake. That looks pretty good. I really like the addition of the grass. It really makes it come to life. I could have made the chocolate a little bit darker, thinking now I probably would have made it a little bit darker. I didn't want it really dark. I wanted it to kind of look like a football. You know, that color of a football. Could have been a little bit darker. So if you're making that, you can look at your icing and just adjust it and make it a little bit darker. So that's it for this really fun video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. That's it, and I'll see you next time. I just wanted to mention that everything I made today, there's a link to it in the description box below this video. That includes the chocolate buttercream frosting, the vanilla buttercream frosting, and the delicious chocolate cake as well. I hope you check that video out. That's it, and I'll see you next time. Three cups of icing sugar. This is also called confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar. A half a cup of cocoa. 1 block of cream cheese. This is 8 ounces or 250 grams. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And I'm using pure vanilla in this recipe. And a half a cup of butter. And I am using salted butter in this recipe. So those are the ingredients. So let's get started. For our first step, we're going to get all of our beautiful cream cheese into a large bowl. Just going to make sure I get all of it out. That's perfect. And I'm using Philadelphia cream cheese in this recipe, but you can use any type of cream cheese that you have. To that, I'm going to add my butter. And I'll grab my mixer and we're going to start mixing this together. And both my butter and cream cheese are at room temperature. It makes it a lot easier to cream these together if they are at room temperature. If they're cold, you're going to have a lot more, difficulty getting them creamed together correctly. I'll just increase my mixer just to get a little bit more air incorporated into the mixture. Okay, that's good. And then we'll get in our vanilla. And whenever you're adding ingredients into your bowl, you really do want to slow your mixer down because you don't want things splashing up on you. So it's a good habit to get into. And that's good, just like that. So now we're going to sift in our dry ingredients. So I've got a sieve here, and I'm going to sift in all of my cocoa powder. So gently, just tap your sieve and slowly get all of that in there. And then anything that's left, take the back of a spoon and gently push. And that's perfect. I'm just going to take a little bit of my powdered sugar and I'll get that in as well. I'm not measuring, I'm just, maybe about a quarter of it, and I'll get that in. I just want to cover my cocoa powder so that when the mixer starts mixing it, it's not really making a dust cloud, because cocoa powder really does get into the air very, very quickly and easily. So we'll grab our mixer once again and speed number 1. And then we're going to slowly incorporate this. So slowly combine this. You can see how really, really rich this is. Looks beautiful, and it smells really good now. As soon as the cocoa powder gets in contact with any kind of moisture, it starts to exude, all of that beautiful aroma. So that's good. Now we'll put in the rest of our icing sugar. So all of the rest. And then just gently tap your sieve. We'll get all of that in there. So a very, very simple recipe, but it yields a very, very nice frosting. And since this is white, then I can just take my fingers, in this case, and just push it through. Perfect. We'll grab our mixer for our last time. And we'll start mixing this in. Speed number 1, you want to do this very, very slowly. Once you have most of that incorporated, you can increase the speed of your mixer and just start incorporating a little bit more air into the actual frosting. And that looks good, just like that. So I'll just show you the consistency of this beautiful cream cheese frosting. And right now, this is pretty warm, so if you put this into your fridge, for about 15 minutes and then whip it again, this is going to get even more firm. But look at this. Look at how nice this is. Hopefully the camera can pick this up. Really, really beautiful frosting. Oh, really, really nice. So just to finish off this video, I have some of the chocolate cream cheese frosting in my piping bag, and I'm just going to pipe some onto a chocolate cupcake, just to show you how nice this is. And there we have it. Beautiful. So I just decided to zoom in a little bit just to show you what this frosting looks like and how well it holds its shape. And there we have it. Really, really yummy. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. cookies. What I have here is my caramel sauce. This is homemade. I do have a recipe on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description box below this video. So I'm going to start off with the first step. So right now, this is warm and this is exactly how I want it because I want to be able to roll this out between two pieces of plastic wrap. So I'll get down the first piece here. I'll take our caramel and I'm going to pour that right in the middle. And you want to have your caramel warm, otherwise it will not roll out very easily. Well, that's good. And then I'm going to take another piece of plastic wrap and put that right on the top. Just like that. I'm going to grab my rolling pin and just start working this. So there's no rule here, you can make it as thick or as thin as you wish. You can see how easily that spreads. And that's good. I've got a cutting board here. I'm just going to slide that underneath. And then we're going to pop this into the fridge so that it chills. For our next step, you want to use your favorite cookie dough recipe. I'm using my easy sugar dough recipe. If you want to see that recipe, I'll put a link to it as well underneath the video in the description box. I'm going to grab a little bit of all-purpose flour. I'm just going to roll that out. I'm going to be making very, very small cookies today. Basically 1 or 2 bite size. 2 bite maximum. So they're going to be very, very small. But you can make them any size that you wish. And a little trick you can use, an offset spatula, and that just slides right underneath. I use this all the time. Makes this really, really easy. Okay, I think that looks good. And I do have my oven set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Got a little tray here. And I'm just using a piping tip. And I'm just going to cut little rounds. So very, very small. And in case you are wondering, this is an Attico 829 for the size. I don't think that's too important. You can make them any size you want. And I'm going to bake these about 11 minutes. 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that's good enough for this video. So there they are. I'm going to pop these into my oven for about 11 minutes. Okay, so these just came out of the oven. 11 minutes exactly. I'm just going to bring these out. And we'll let them cool. And they look really nice, and they smell really nice too. Ooh, hot. Okay, so we'll let those cool, and then I'm going to show you the next step. So my caramel has completely cooled now. You can see that it's a nice sheet, and it's ready to be cut. Our cookies are also cool, and I'm just going to show you. So this is the piping tip that we use to actually cut the cookie. And I'm going to use a slightly smaller one for the caramel, so you can see that there's quite a difference, because I don't want the caramel actually like going off of the cookie. So that there I think is pretty good. So I'm just going to start cutting little rounds. Just give a little push. I've got a little thing here to push it out, that I can just bring my cookie right over. Just place that right in the middle. Just like that. I'll just zoom in. Alright, I've just zoomed in to show you a little bit closer up. So we'll work on this one here. So I'm going to grab my little piping tip again. Just give it a little push. And then just peel. And then just place it on. Now if you do get it stuck inside, just use a little skewer and you can just poke it around and pop it out like that. So there's our second one. So you can see how quickly these come together. If you have somebody helping you out, it's going to go very, very fast. So I'll do one more. Make sure I'm on camera here. We'll just pop that out. And the other way that you could do this as well is you could keep your caramel warm, put it into a piping bag, and then just pipe it out. If you use a spoon, you are going to make a mess. It is going to go all over the place. So if you don't want to do this technique here, you can use a piping bag. Okay, so we have 3 done here. I guess I'll do 6 for this video. So I'm just going to finish off. I'll do a few more, and then I'll come back and I'm going to show you the last step where we cover those in milk chocolate. For my last step, I've melted a little bit of milk chocolate. We're going to load up our piping bag, and then we're going to finish the cookies off. So I've loaded up my milk chocolate into my piping bag and we're ready to go. I'm just going to start in the middle, and I'm just going to let this slowly flow to the outside. I don't want to put too much on. That looks good like that. You could completely cover the cookie as well if you wish. That should flow over. You can see the piping bag though gives you a little bit more control. And there we have it. If you see one that's a little bit, on the shy side, you can just add a little bit more before the chocolate sets. Maybe a little more here. Just take your time and make them look nice. This one here maybe a little bit more, and I made a little bit of a mistake there, but that's okay. And I think that's good like that. And those look really, really nice. Let me just zoom in before we chill them down. Okay, I've just zoomed in a little bit. Let's just push these together a little bit more so you can see them a little bit better. I'll bring them in. Very, very careful here. And then I'm just going to spin this around a little bit so you can see. So these are really, really fun. Anytime your guests or family will be impressed. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to pop these into the fridge, and then I'll just come back and show you when they have actually set up. So at this point, the chocolate has completely set up. The cookies are actually cold right now, but I will cut into one just to show you what they look like inside. And I'm going to zoom in for that. So let's cut into this and see what it looks like on the inside. And there we have it. That looks really, really nice. So we've got our sugar cookie base, our homemade caramel in the middle, and milk chocolate on the top. Really, really nice cookie. That's really good. You get that crunch from the cookie, that really nice gooey caramel, and that chocolate. A really, really nice combo. So that's it for this really fun video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. That's it, and I'll see you next time. chocolate brownies recipe. This is the same recipe that I posted on my YouTube channel, Bake Like a Pro, a number of years ago, but at that point in time, I was not including gram measurements. So in today's recipe, I've weighed out all of the ingredients as well, and I'm going to give you exact measurements in grams. So for our easy chocolate brownies, we're going to need 3 eggs, and I'm using large eggs, 1 cup of granulated sugar, and that is equal to 210 grams, 1 cup of chocolate chips, and that is equal to 200 grams, and I'm using semi-sweet chocolate in my recipe today, 3/4 of a cup of salted butter, and that is equal to 171 grams, 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, and that is equal to 113 grams. And our last ingredient, 1/4 cup of cocoa powder, and that is equal to exactly 30 grams. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. To start off our recipe, I have a pot with a little bit of water, and I'm heating it up on my mini stovetop. And I do not need the water boiling, I just need it to come up to a simmer. I just want to have the water hot enough so that we can start melting our ingredients. So I'm going to get a glass bowl on top, and what we have made here is called a bain-marie, and this is called a double boiler. So the water is going to gently heat up the bottom of the bowl and anything that's placed inside our bowl. I'm going to grab all of our butter and get that right in there. And I just want to start melting this down. So I'm going to let this go, and when it starts melting down, I'll come back. This is going to take about 3 or 4 minutes. So this is about 3 or 4 minutes later, and you can see our butter is really starting to melt. So at this point, I'm going to take all of our chocolate chips and get those in there as well. And now I'm just going to let this go again and start melting all of our chocolate as well. So I'm going to let this go, and I'll come back in maybe about 5 minutes. And I forgot to mention, you don't want to have water boiling, you just want to have it at a simmer, a nice gentle heat that is gently heating our bowl. So this is about 5 minutes later. I'm just going to mix all of this around, so I do want to get the chocolate in contact with our butter. And I want to get most of this melted before I add in my sugar, so I'm going to let this go for another 5 minutes or so. So I'm just going to let this go. I'll come back in a little bit. So this here is not even 5 minutes later, and you can see our chocolate is really starting to melt down here. It's just a little bit left, but at this point I'm good. I'm going to take all of our granulated sugar and get that right in. And you can use a whisk, by the way. I'm just using my little spatula here, but you can use a whisk. And I just want to get everything incorporated, and I'm just going to let this go for another 2 or 3 minutes. I want to really get that sugar melted. Look at how nice and smooth this is becoming already. Look at that. Wow. And this smells really, really good. So just to make sure that all the granules of sugar are completely dissolved, I'm just going to let this go a little bit longer, 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll come back. So this is a few minutes later, and this looks really, really good. So on to our next step. At this point, I have cleaned up and we're ready to go, but my bowl is quite hot. So I have 2 options. I can use an electric mixer to incorporate a lot of air into our batter while I'm adding in the eggs, or if you're whisking by hand, you may want to just wait for about 10 minutes so that the temperature of this drops a little bit. Today I'm going to be using an electric mixer, so I'm just going to get this going. Just get some air moving in here. And then I'm going to start adding in my eggs. Egg number 1. Egg number 2. and egg number 3. Now I just want to mix this until it's well incorporated. And the addition of these eggs has made this mixture very, very rich. And it smells really, really good. So that looks good like that. And now we're going to mix in the rest of our ingredients. So we're going to get our cocoa powder in. And our all-purpose flour. And just give that a little shake. And then grab the back of a spoon and just push all of that cocoa powder through. I am using Dutch processed cocoa powder. You can use any type of cocoa powder that you have. That'll work just as well. And there we have it. Grab my mixer one last time. Speed number 1. You don't want to make a mess, so slowly start getting all of this together. And if you don't have an electric mixer, you can use a whisk or a wooden spoon. And hopefully you can see how nice this batter is. And you can see how easy it was to start off our recipe with that water bath. And there's really no cleanup because you're using just water in that pot, so you can just rinse it out and put it away. And we're still using the original bowl. So minimum cleanup, which is really, really nice. And that hot water bath does all of the work for us, so it makes this recipe super, super simple. So that is completely mixed now, and that looks good. And at this point, if you wanted to add in any kind of nut, like walnuts, for example, you could put them in right now. And that's perfect. So I have a pan here lined with parchment paper with a couple of little metal clips. And this here is 8 inches by 8 inches square. I'm going to grab our amazing batter and get that right in there. Oh, doesn't that look good? And always use a spatula when you're doing this. You want to make sure that you get all of that chocolate goodness right out of your bowl. You don't want to waste a drop. Okay, that looks good. So there we have it. That is ready for the oven. I'm going to bake this around 30 to 35 minutes in a 325 degree Fahrenheit oven. That looks amazing. So off to the oven, and I'll be back a little later on. So right out of the oven, I baked this 35 minutes exactly at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. At this moment, this is extremely hot. I'm going to wait about 15 minutes and then I'm going to bring it out, and then we'll cut into it a little later on when it has cooled down. So this is a little while later. I just let this cool down for about 15 minutes or so, and I'm just going to take a little rubber spatula and just go along the side here. Just want to have a clean break. Okay, that's good. Remove my little clips. And then with the magic of that parchment paper, you can see you can just lift this right out. Oh, it smells so good. Whew. That's very, very hot still. So I've got to let this completely cool down. But hopefully you can see how nice this looks. It smells really, really nice. I've got to let it completely cool down before we cut into it. So that's going to be a little while. So I'll let it cool down and then I'll come back and we'll finish off the video. So this is about an hour later and I can't wait any longer. They're a little bit warm still, but let's cut into them. I'm just going to make a nice little slice here on the side. Look at that. Oh, that looks good. Oh, smells really, really good. And these look really, really fudgy. Look at that. Oh, I gotta zoom in just to show you these. I just wanted to zoom in like I usually do just to show you, the finished product a little closer up. But check this out. Look at that. Really, really nice and fudgy. Look at this when you squeeze it. Brownies should always be like this. You don't want to use baking powder because that turns it more into a cake. You want it really, really dense like you see it here. Oh, I gotta try a little piece. That is really good. Super, super moist and full of chocolate flavor. A really, really easy brownie recipe. I hope you try it out. So I'm going to end off the video here. I usually cover my brownies with some sort of chocolate. Today I'm not going to do that on camera, but you will see a little intro and my thumbnail for YouTube. I'm going to have some of these covered in chocolate. Today I'm going to be making something really, really yummy, and these are my chocolate banana cupcakes. And here are the ingredients that we need. 3/4 of a cup of milk, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of cocoa powder, 3 ripe bananas, 2 eggs, 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. For my first step, I'm going to grab my 3 very ripe bananas, and using ripe bananas is really important because they really give a lot more flavor to this cupcake. So I'm going to open all of these up, I'm going to peel them, and then I'm going to mash them in a bowl. Once I have my bananas peeled, I'm just going to use a little potato masher, and I'm just going to start breaking all these down. You can also use a fork to do this. That works equally as well. But you can see how quickly this happens here. And when your bananas are really, really ripe, you can see how easy this breaks down. So that's perfect like that. And now we'll get on to our next step. So a really, really simple recipe today. We're going to start off with our eggs. So there's 1 and 2. We can add our vegetable oil right into there. Perfect. I'll grab my mixer. And I just want to break those yolks up a little bit. Then I'll add in my sugar. Okay, that's good. And then I'm going to get my milk in there as well. And I'll add in my salt. Okay, and then we'll sift in our dry ingredients. So we'll get in our cocoa powder. And I am sifting all of these ingredients. Our all-purpose flour. Our baking soda. And our baking powder. And then we'll just sift those in. Grab the back of a spoon and just go over gently on your sieve. Perfect. We'll grab our mixer once again. Speed number 1. I just want to go very slowly here. And keep mixing this until well combined. Once that's well combined, I'm going to get my vanilla in as well. And then we're going to get all of our mashed banana. We'll just get that right in there. Okay, that's good. And we'll mix this up. So if you like banana and you like chocolate, you're going to really enjoy this. And that's perfect. And now it's time to fill our molds. So we're ready to fill our molds. I just have little paper liners in my cupcake mold and we're ready to go. I'm going to get these about 3/4 of the way up. So I'll whip through this. I'll be back in a second. Okay, that's pretty good. So I have 12 here and 2 here for a total of 14. I'm going to pop these into my 350 degree Fahrenheit oven for about 30 minutes. Ooh, extremely hot. These just came out of the oven. Let me grab my next ones. And there we have them. Oh, they smell so good. I'll just get that together. So 30 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Ooh. So at this point I'm going to let these completely cool and then I'll be back in a little while. Oh, they smell so good. Oh, I decided just to drop my camera down and zoom in a little bit so that you can see these. They smell really, really good. I can't wait to break into one. So hopefully the camera can pick up how nice these are. So here we are again. All of my beautiful cupcakes have completely cooled right now, and we have a total of 14 that I got out of my recipe. So the last thing that we want to do, let's get into one and see what they look like inside. Make sure the camera is focused here. I'll just move these out of the way. And look at this. Oh, that smells so good. Chocolate banana. I'll just break into that. Oh. Look at that. Smells really, really good. And of course I'm going to have to try a piece. Oh, that's good. That's really, really yummy. Really, really moist. I really, really like this. So I hope you enjoyed my recipe. It was a really fun one to do. And if you have ripe bananas hanging around the house, it's the perfect recipe to try. So that's it for this portion of the recipe. What I'm going to do as an optional little step, I'm going to frost one of these with my chocolate cream cheese frosting. A really, really fun recipe. If you want to try that recipe out, I'll put a link to it in a description box below this video. So I'm going to go get that and I'll come back in 1 second. So I just wanted to show you my chocolate cream cheese icing just before we start frosting a cupcake. So that's it there. You can see how nice this is. Really, really nice frosting. So I've loaded up my piping bag. This is a Houten disposable piping bag and I'm ready to go. And I'll just show you how nice this comes out. It's really, really nice. It's a nice stable frosting. Look at that. Awesome. And there we have it. Let me just zoom in. So now we can see everything really close up, which is kind of nice. Here is my beautiful chocolate cream cheese frosting. I will put a link to this underneath the video. So look underneath the video in the description box and you'll see a link directly to this frosting. Really, really good. And then we have the video that we actually did today, which is our chocolate banana cupcake. Really, really fun, really, really yummy. So that's the end of my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. That's it for today, and I'll see you next time. So yummy. I made a few years ago. I may have confused a few people and I just want to redo this video and clarify it and try to make it a little bit easier for you to try at home. For our video today, we need 4 simple ingredients. I have 1 cup of granulated white sugar. This is 210 grams. A half a cup of water. This is room temperature water, 125 milliliters or exactly 125 grams. A third of a cup of salted butter, and this is 79 grams. And our last ingredient, a half a cup of whipping cream. This is equal to 135 grams or 125 milliliters. So those are the ingredients, so let's get started. And a recipe note, the whipping cream that I'm using today is rated at 35% milk fat. To start off our recipe, I'm going to start off with a cold pot. I've got my little heating element ready to go. It's still off. I'll just get that on there. I want to do this exactly like you would do it in your own kitchen at home. I'm going to grab my water, and this is just room temperature water. I'm going to get that in there. And to that, we're going to add in our granulated sugar. And now we're going to start introducing some heat into our sugar-water mixture. And this is the part where the caramel is going to start to develop. So I'm going to turn this up, and I'm going to let this go, and I'll come back in a couple of minutes. So you just want to go on a low heat. So this is about 3 minutes later, and I can start seeing that we're getting a little bit of boiling happening, and that's exactly what we want. And we don't want to stir at this point, we just want to leave it like this. So I'm going to just let this go for a little bit longer, and then I'll come back. And I'm also going to zoom in. So this is about 1 minute later. All I've done is zoomed in so that you can see a little bit better. We don't want to stir at this point. We don't want to start bringing that sugar mixture up on the sides, because that starts a crystallization process, and we don't want that. So we just want to let that just go on its own. I have a low heat on here, but you can see the action that's happening in here. There's quite a bit of boiling going on. If you put your heat too high, you're going to burn off all of the water that's in the mixture, and you're going to burn the caramel. All of that sugar will start to burn. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking for the sugar to start turning a little bit brown. And you can actually see that a tiny bit. We don't want to rush this process. Just let it go. If we have this too high, all of that water will evaporate and will burn the sugar. So you want to be really, really patient when you're making caramel. So you just want to keep watching it, and over time you're going to start seeing the caramel start to develop. The water will evaporate off. That's the steam coming off. The caramel is going to start getting thicker. That sugar is going to get thick. And also it's going to start darkening in color. And at this point I do not smell caramel because it's still too light. But over time we're going to start smelling that. So I'll pause the camera here for another minute or so, and I'll come back when I think it's time to show you more good information. So we'll just let that go. So here we are again. This is about 1 minute and 15 seconds later. Hopefully the camera can pick it up, but you can start seeing that there's a little bit more color happening right here. And I can also see that the mixture is starting to get a little bit thicker. And I have not touched my heat at all. I'm just letting it go on its own. So I'll let that go for another minute or so, and then I'll come back. A lot of patience is required, and you don't want to stir this at all. Do not stir. So this is now another 2 minutes later, and I am starting now to smell the caramel. And if you look in here, you can see it's much thicker, and also it is starting to get much darker. And I'll just tilt it a little bit so you can see it's getting much thicker. So that's exactly what we want. And we'll just let that go like this a little bit longer. So now we're about not even 1 minute later, and look at the color here, and I can really smell that caramel. And at this point we could actually turn this right off. I'll just do that just to show you. I can turn this off. Can you see that? And I can add my butter at this point. I can smell the caramel, and I can also see the color that I want. If I wanted it a little bit darker, I could turn this back on again and just let it go a little bit longer. But you can see that nice golden color now. Really, really nice. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to just let this settle right down so I can show you what it looks like before we add the butter or our cream. So this is off, and I'll just let all the bubbles subside. I've just decided to zoom in a little bit. Now look, my heat is off, and you can also see that this is getting very brown right now. Can you see that? Look at that. Really, really nice. At this point, I can grab my butter, and I'm just going to get that right in there. And what that's going to do is it's going to lower the temperature of the caramel. I'll just get all of that in there. Just let all of that melt. Oh, it smells so good. Once that's fully melted, I'll just grab my spoon here, and that looks really good. And then we'll grab our whipping cream, and then I can just pour that in. And there we have it. And I'm not adding extra salt because there was salt in my butter. I was using salted butter. And then we just gently stir. We want all of those things to come together. Oh, that looks amazing. And if it looks like it's on the thin side a little later on, you can keep your pot on here, and then you can just turn it on, introduce a little bit more heat, like I'll do now. I'll just get this up to a little bit of a boil, and then we're going to turn it off again. Just want to add a little bit of heat in here. This element goes very, very fast, even on a low setting. You can see those bubbles happening already, so I'm just going to turn this right off. And at this point, our caramel sauce is finished. I am just going to let this completely cool now. This is going to take quite a long time to cool. Once it does, then I'm going to come back and we're going to pour it into a little bowl, and I'll show you what it looks like. But look at this. Look at how much we have and how inexpensive that was to make at home. And no extra chemicals. We did everything at home and we control our recipe. Really, really nice. So I'm going to let this completely cool down, and I'm going to come back probably in about 2 hours and I'll show you the final product. So this is quite a while later. My caramel right now is at room temperature, and I just wanted to show you how it flows. You can see how nice this is. Great on ice cream or any kind of dessert. Look at that. So I'm just going to zoom in while I pour it into my little bowl here. So I've just zoomed in. I'll just get this on camera so you can see it, and I just want to see how nice this pours. I just want to show you how nice this pours. Oh, look at that. Oh, I love caramel. And if you want your caramel a lot lighter in color, you simply don't boil it as long, and it'll be much lighter than this. The longer you boil the sugar and the water together, the darker it becomes and the more flavor it develops. For the last part of my video, I've zoomed in quite a bit, and I've also brought my lights in a little bit. It kind of looked a little dark on my camera. That there looks more true to life. So I'll just show you what this looks like. Look at this, how smooth that is. Very, very simple to make. And this here stores really well in the fridge. Just put it in a little mason jar and you can keep it in there for months. This just doesn't go bad. Let me just try a little bit of this. Oh, so good. I do have another video where I made caramel on my YouTube channel, but it was quite a number of years ago, so hopefully today I made this process a little bit easier for some of you to understand. So I hope you try this out at home, a really fun one. Once you start making this at home, you will never buy the stuff in the store again. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you wish. I really do appreciate that. That's it, and I'll see you next time. That is really magical.